Hi, this is Kristen Carr. Thanks for joining us today as we get to hear more about Lightning Literature. So, Kristen, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks. I'm the other Kristen. I serve as Chief Learning Officer at Hewitt Learning, and Hewitt is a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to get educational resources in the hands of kids in alternative ed and homeschool settings all over the world. So one of my tasks is I work closely with curriculum development, our programs, the families, and I'm also a homeschool parent partnership program parent myself. So I get to see lots of different sides. I get to see design, I get to see day-to-day reality, what works at the kitchen table, what doesn't, when you need to ditch the kitchen table, all of those different things, I get to work with that. I have 4 kids of my own, including 3 twice exceptional, well, all 4 of them are twice exceptional. 3 of them have dyslexia. And so when I talk about Lightning Lit, it's not just that professional lens of being able to work with the author, it's also that lived experience that I get to share with. So our goal today is really to help you feel more confident in working with Lightning Lit, and also adapting it for your unique user, and your unique learner, and how to use it within the Central Valley Charter Schools flexible model. Because you have a whole community of support, whether it's your teachers, us at Hewitt, all the different teams. So let's start off with what is Lightning Lit. Lightning Lit is literature rich. It's open and go. It's a curriculum that blends reading, writing, grammar, and some critical thinking. At its core, it's really designed to help students fall in love with great books while also building the skills they need to express themselves confidently and clearly. So each level is built around real high quality books. They're not excerpts, they're not dry textbook selections. You're going to see everything from novels to poetry, modern books to classics, stories from around the world, different cultures, different backgrounds. The curriculum is secular and charter friendly, which is one reason why so many independent study programs recommend it. One of the other things I personally appreciate is how it supports critical thinking in small and approachable steps. Um, if you do the curriculum as a whole, you're not just answering comprehension questions, you're reflecting on theme, character motivation, setting, conflict, all sorts of different things. And the grammar and writing components are all fully integrated, so you're not just focusing on one thing in isolation. Their students are learning how it connects to writing as they're doing the exercises that relate to the book that they're reading at the moment. So, let's look a little closer at this here. One of the other things I really like is that it grows with your child. Early levels focus on reading comprehension and simple writing prompts. That being said, I need to note here that Lightning Lit does not include reading instruction. So reading instruction and phonics would have to be separate. A lot of families use How to Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons alongside the early Lightning Lits. Other families like things like All About Reading and then jumping into Lightning Lit at like grade 3, 4, somewhere in there. So it just kind of depends on the needs of your learner specifically. The middle levels introduce some more literary analysis, some more creative composition, and then the high school courses dive more into formal essays and that deeper discussion of ideas. One of the things I want to mention now, and then I have a chart later on, we are actually renaming some of our levels. Instead of grades 1 through 6, 7, and 8, we're actually going to shift to titles. So you'll see names like Spark, Flash, Bolt, all lightning related. It's a way to reflect what everybody here already knows, that students learn best when we meet them where they are. And so each level works well across kind of an age span. So then the question is, here's our old name. Here's the chart I just referenced. How do you choose which level is right? These are recommendations. You want to work with your mentor teacher to be able to say, is this the right fit? Some families choose really based on the titles of the book. Within a level or two, they say, hey, my kid is more interested in reading these ones than these, and so we're going to jump in here. Others really do go by that grade level. So you're wanting to start with what excites your kids. that concept of meeting them where they're at. The curriculum does have a bit of a spiral to it, which means each year you're going to talk about nouns, but you're going to approach it at a different level. You're going to go a little deeper each year. We're also updating our upper level courses, so grade 7 and 8. If you've used it previously, it was a completely different format. We've updated grade 7 and 8 with the release of Tempest and Storm. Or I guess Storm is 7 and then Tempest is 8, to more closely match the layout and format of the elementary levels. So all of these levels have a student workbook in them and then a teacher's guide, and you need both. The teacher's guide has a whole lot of information that if you don't look at, you will miss a whole section of the curriculum. That's one of the mistakes that people make is they see the student workbook and like, oh, it has so much, it must have everything. A lot of the pieces are in the teacher's guide. And if you don't go to that teacher's guide, you're going to miss it. One of the things that the feedback we get quite frequently about Lightning Lit is that it's well organized, it's easy to use, and it's really that open and go. And it's adaptable. So just because it's all there doesn't mean you can't change it slightly to meet that needs of your family. So each level is designed around a 36-week school year. Typically scheduled 4 days a week, has an optional 5th day built in for catch up, for co-op. That's the day that you meet with your teachers. Whatever it happens to be, it's that structure, being able to have assignments 4 days a week works really beautifully in hybrid programs. Every week typically includes assigned chapters or pages from a selected book. There's a set of reading comprehension questions, a grammar lesson connected to the reading or writing, and a composition assignment. You can notice here on this is at the upper levels, starting about grade 4. In that student workbook, there will be a student checklist, and it will have what they need to do in there for that week. Side note here, caveat, the composition assignments are in the teacher's guide. And that's where a lot of the people, if you're only going through the student workbook, you're going to miss some of those composition assignments, and you're also going to miss some of those discussion pieces. The student workbook is written directly to the student. The author is having a conversation with the student in all the writing. And the checklist is there so that they know exactly what to expect. They can check off every day. And it also allows for flexibility. So if you've got a student who says, I'm going to read a ton and get ahead in reading, they can read the whole book, check it all off, and then come back and do the grammar pages day at a time and space it out. Other families, and I mean, I know with my kids, they didn't want to put the book down. They would go through the whole book and then come back and slow down and do the rest of it. So it really is that you can chunk it out and be adaptable to work with your student and what their needs are. In the teacher's guide, you've got answers to all of the student workbook pages. You've got literary discussion points. You've got grammar explanations. You've got suggested breakdowns for writing assignments. You've got tips and strategies. There's a whole wealth of information in that teacher's guide. It really helps on the teacher side of things to keep it rich, that conversation rich. It gives discussion prompt questions, and it lends to that open and go nature of this curriculum where sometimes I'm behind reading. Yeah, I haven't read the book quite enough. Oh, they've read it. Oh, shoot, where do I go? So I can flip to that teacher's guide and I can catch up really fast and go, okay, here's some questions. Here's the theme. Here's the story. Here's the character. Here's the setting. I've got that synopsis right there that I can open and pace with my kid, even if I'm a little bit behind. The other thing I like about this is if needed, you can shift it around a little bit. I know sometimes books are hard to find. And so you might have a book on hold in the library or something. And so if you need to skip and jump to a later book and then come back and finish this one, you can do it. The curriculum isn't intended for that. It's intended to be built on each other, but it is flexible enough that you can skip and come back to it if needed. So, in fact, that is one of the feedback that we've gotten from families is they like the open and go and the flexibility, that combination. You don't need to be an English major. You don't need to spend hours prepping. The lessons are all there. It's laid out clearly in that tandem between the teacher's guide and the student workbook. So, and if you're a parent who likes structure and order, you've got it. If you're a parent who likes that flexibility and creativity, you've got that too. And if you're both, depending on the week, we've got that too. So it's kind of a little bit of everything. Welcome to the club. It's a way to keep you grounded without boxing you in. Like I said, my kids are dyslexic, and so some of the pieces are hard. Especially in the upper levels, there's a lot of reading. And so some families will, the lessons at the beginning, the parent will read it out loud, and that's perfectly okay. Sit down, help them highlight it. Sometimes even just the parent or the teacher, if you've got someone with special needs, would, with a dyslexia, ADHD, any of those different pieces, you can summarize for it and say, here's these pieces. My kids, I say they read it, they use audiobooks. We use audiobooks all the time, and separate out the grammar is different from the reading comprehension. If I'm looking at reading comprehension, I want to know, did they interpret it? That's separate from the skill of reading. And so being able to distinguish that, if you've got kids, being able to adapt to your kids' needs and be able to look into what each of these skills are, you can totally adapt the curriculum to be able to work with that. Using tools like dyslexia and speech to text for some of the composition pieces, things like that, allows the kids to be able to access really great literature without getting stuck on the decoding part of it. And they're able to engage with those questions. So I know some families, if the focus is writing and physical writing, then they work on that. Others, if the focus is the comprehension, then some of those questions get turned into, let's talk about it. Instead of writing the answers down on the workbook, let's talk about it. Tell me what you know. I'll scribe for you if you need to, if we need that written piece. And so you really can adapt it to the needs of your kids in that moment. On the other hand, if you've got kids that are self-driven and really going for it and love to read, then this can be a very independent program. And they've got the checklist, you can hand it to them and say, read the instructions, go for it. And so depending on what the needs of your kids specifically are, you can adapt it to your needs. So that's really a part of it. It's not, it doesn't assume every kid is the same. You really are encouraged to adjust. If you have a kid that hates writing, you can do that journal verbally. If you've got a kid who loves to draw, you can sketch the responses in a journal. If you need to skip a writing assignment because life got messy, you can totally do that. The writing prompts are there. It's there are additional supports. The writings are more of the writing composition assignments are more of a prompt sitting. They don't break it down in detail. And so some families like to pair the writing with a curriculum like IEW, things like that if the kids need more structures. Others like the fluid nature of just having that prompt and being able to go as the student and give them that creativity. We have a website, hewittresources.org. We are building out our free resource section. And so right now we have several worksheets for each grade level to help help with that writing, a little bit extra structure for those who need writing help. We're going to be adding spelling lists to that because spelling lists aren't currently included in the printable, but we're going to be adding that to that resource site. Sample schedules, things like that. We're going to be adding, so keep checking back with that. And if you have a resource that you say, hey, I would love to be able to see that, please let us know, because our goal is to, like I say, make this useful for you. So that hewittresources.org is where a lot of our extra resources are.
Awesome.
Did I see your question?
Kristen. I do have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Since you're talking about the writing, do you know if the prompts cover the different genres of writing? Do they cover
Yes.
opinion and informative and narrative?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay, great.
You'll have some research to do. There's some research papers. There's opinion. Yes, all of the above. Okay. So this one, the example I have here is a personal essay on a memory. But the other ones, it depends on the level, depends on the, but they each go through different styles. So yes, they will cover all of them. We also do have a list of what standards go with which levels and what topics are covered with which levels. And so you can always email us if you, it should be going on the resources site if it's not there yet. It's definitely on the website. And if you can't find it, let us know and we'll send it to you. So we have all of those pieces. So yeah, bottom line, if you're ever wondering, can I just adjust the curriculum? The answer is absolutely yes, you're supposed to. And we're here to help. So along those lines, the question we often get is, will this work for my learner specifically? And that's a question everybody should always be asking. It's a fantastic question. Every kid is different, and Lightning Lit is designed with that in mind. It's not the right fit for some kids, and we're ready to admit that. Absolutely, it's not the right for some kids, but it is perfect for many kids because of that adaptable nature. So breaking it down a little bit, what I've seen work in my family and in conversation with others, for visual learners, the student workbooks are clean, they're well organized. There's reading concepts and grammar questions that are all clearly laid out. And students who like predictability really thrive on that. They know what to expect each day. They're going to be doing these things, and it gives them confidence. If you have students with auditory processing or dyslexic learners, then it pairs really well with audiobooks or read alouds. You don't have to have your student read everything silently on their own. You can listen together, you can pause to talk about what's happening, kind of have that discussion flow. And those conversations are actually really good and build analytical thinking, and they count as part of that learning process. A lot of that instruction is in that first part of each section in the student workbook. And so, like I said earlier, a lot of times an adult will read that aloud. If you've got someone with a dyslexic piece, I know my kids would flip circles on the couch because they couldn't sit still. And that, while we talked about those pieces and those grammar pieces, and that ability to let them flip or run or jump on a trampoline or whatever while we were doing it, for their learning style, help them integrate those concepts. And so it's absolutely adaptable to be able to do that. And so on that note, for highly active learners, it's true, it's a print-based program. It also includes that fifth day. There's always in the teacher's guide, there's optional enrichment activities, things like writing a letter from one character to another, creating a story map, acting out a scene. And it's open to a lot of creativity for you to be able to build and adapt to your kids. I know of one kid who actually sketched out something for every novel that they read. Other kids build dioramas. There's a lot of, it's a good spine, and there's a lot of room to build and be creative around it. It works well for a wide variety of kids because it's structured but not rigid. It builds independence through consistency, and you can adapt the format to suit executive function needs. You've got checklists that are there. You can use voice dictation. You can do typing instead of handwriting. You can really adapt it to whatever your kid specifically needs. So I've had multiple families tell me that Lightning Lit was the first literature curriculum that their kid actually liked. And it wasn't because of the flashiness or the gimmicks. It was because that it was meeting them where they were at, and was able to give real books, whole books, and ask real questions in a space that they felt was more authentic. You don't have to figure it out alone. That's the beauty of programs like yours. Like, I love like I say, my kids are part of a similar program in a different state, and rely on your mentor teachers. Absolutely. That's what they're there for. And be able to use the different tools, whether it's the stuff on Hewitt Resources, whether it's working dialogues with other kids who are using the same curriculum. You can try what works and leave the rest. It's absolutely open to that. So I want to highlight just for a second what makes Lightning Lit different on that note. It's built around great books. Like I've said before, it's not excerpts, it's not summaries, it's real living literature. And It's includes classics and it's not isolated to just the classics. So the books are intentionally diverse. They pull from different genres, different cultures, different time periods, and that's intentional. So give you an example, our current grade 4, it's going to be called Bolt soon. Students are reading The One and Only Ivan, which has been adapted into a movie looking at animals for kids who love animals. We've got Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, which is a mythology out of China, and The Phantom Tollbooth, which is kind of a creative myth. Phantom Tollbooth, on a personal note, was always one of my favorites. If you haven't read any of those, you're missing out. And so they're fun for the adults to read along with the kids too, just as a side note. And your student isn't just reading the books, they're also discussing them, they're learning grammar and context, they're writing their own letters, they're writing their own stories, their own essays. It also teaches literary analysis in small steps. The students are learning terms like tone, setting, symbolism. I learned what slant rhymes were as I taught my kids. I never heard of the concept of slant rhymes until I went through this program with my kids. And these concepts are being introduced naturally through stories and not in a vacuum. So the students learning to ask, why did the author choose this? Or what do I think the character learned here? And it's done in a way so that even if you're jumping in mid-level, if your student hasn't done it before, it's still in an approachable way. It starts simple, builds over time, and reluctant readers can really find their voice. It's integrated. It's all together. One week you might read a story and learn how to identify adverbs from that story itself. The next you're going to be using adverbs in creative writing story inspired by that same story. And so it's all integrated together. It's a cohesive path that really makes sense. They're not learning about language. They're learning how to use it in their own voice. I've said it over and over. It's adaptable and supportive. It doesn't matter whether your student's above grade level, working through skill gaps, somewhere in between. There's room to breathe. You can slow down, you can speed up, you can do the books out of order. If your kid needs more time to be able to do a writing assignment, you only do half of them and you slow down and you can skip a writing prompt. If your kid is a fast writer, you add more. And we've got those extra writing prompts there too. You're never behind or ahead, you're just on your own path. And it allows for that flexibility in that. It's rigorous, but not rigid. So it's a way to be able to respect kids and respect parents. And that's one of the things I love about the program. So, couple challenges, like any curriculum out there. No curriculum is perfect, and Lightning Lit is no exception. But I love like I say, the adaptability of it. So a couple pieces, couple of challenges. Sourcing books, because it is literature book heavy, sometimes it's hard to source books. We are working our way around that for some of them. I know Wheel on the School is one that's hard to find, and we're working on ways to do that. Libraries are a great resource. So is YouTube. Sometimes there's YouTube of videos of people reading the books. And then like your school library as well. It's a great way to go. It can feel overwhelming with 8 to 12 books per level, but most of the books are really widely available. Libraries check out for audiobooks or actual books. Some families swap books as well. So there's a lot of ways to be able to do that. Thrift books is another really good way to find ones.
Kristen, most of your packages seem to offer the books, except for maybe first and second grade. Look like the books were not included in the packages. Are they included in the text at all, or is that something that families have to go and get?
So that's an excellent question. We have packages and sets, including all the books for grades 3 up. The reason we don't have it for 1 and 2 is because there are so many picture books in them that it becomes cost prohibitive for a lot of families. And so we found that most families actually like just checking them out from the library at that level and then buying the books that they really like to keep for their own library. And so that way we keep it cost affordable for families.
Okay,
it was
great.
Really the strategy for that. Yeah.
Okay.
So another challenge that we've heard from families is that writing support for struggling or reluctant writers. It includes composition assignments every 1 to 2 weeks, but for students who find writing tough, that can be a challenge. And so that's, again, just going to emphasize it again here, modify it. Absolutely feel free to modify it. You can skip an assignment, scribe for your student. If the lesson you're trying to convey is how do you communicate your thoughts, we live in a world with speech to text. Absolutely, and make use of it. Um, Absolutely make use of it and have them then go back and edit it, that sort of thing. Some families, like I say, also pair it with structured writing curriculum like IEW. Others just slow down and focus on 1 or 2 writing assignments and make sure they're good. So you can adapt it rather than trying to rush and finish all the prompts, because there are a lot of prompts in there. The structure side of it, we get mixed feedback on. Some people say it's too gentle. Other people say it's too fast. So it lends to that adaptable nature. And for many of the students, it's actually one of the best features because it gives you the bones and it allows you the freedom to know how much meat you want to add to that flexibility. So if you need more rigor, then you can absolutely deepen those literary discussions, assign additional essays, supplement with more vocab work. If you need more simplicity, you can skip certain sections and alternate it out and adapt to that needs of your students. In our house, I know we've done both. We've in certain areas like, okay, we need a little bit more structure here. Let's add this in. In other areas, it's like, okay, let's speed up. We can go this a little bit faster. You get this. And so really, it doesn't fall apart if you modify it. You just have to adjust to support your learner and meet your goals. And that's perfectly fine to do. So we've looked at the big picture. So the day-to-day, some tips and strategies. For your situation in your school district, I would say make sure to use that 4-day-a-week intentionally, that schedule intentionally. It's built for 4 days a week, leaving that 5th day open. You can use it for catch up. You can use it to do enrichment, watch the movie of the book you just read, or it could be that's the day that you do the check-in with your student or your teacher. If you're going to be, I know some of the classes, you're going to have an actual in-person class and then do some of the stuff at home. So you can schedule that on the 5th day or one of the 4 days. It's really adaptable and you can lean into that 4-day-a-week nature a lot. Another tip is lean into your students' ownership. Have them take ownership in this. It really is written directly to the learner. And so you can give the student a copy of that weekly checklist. It's in their workbook starting at grade 4. And let them track their own progress and check in with them and kind of build that executive function for the students. It can build independence and accountability. And for some kids, that checklist is really motivating. If your student is one that needs more executive function support, you can pair that checklist with visual timers, with reminders, with, you can use it as a motivation, just finish today's box and we'll go get ice cream, do this much and then we'll go jump on the trampoline. Do this while we're jumping on the trampoline, break it up into that. And so you can use that and let the students say, okay, you're struggling with writing today. What do you suggest? What are your ideas at the older levels? How we need to get this done? How do you propose we do it? And give them some ownership in how they want to get it done. That's absolutely a good thing to do. So I've said it over and over, don't be afraid to adapt. It's a flexible tool. It has scripts, it's open and go, but you're not tied to them. So use audiobooks, do the discussions in the car while you're driving to a club, type something instead of handwrite it. It's designed to work with real life. So, and as we're continuing to build that free resources section, go there, find writing prompts, spelling lists, alternate scheduling tools, all the different pieces that you need. And one of the strengths of Lightning Lit really is that discussion. You don't have to necessarily grade everything at the lower levels. High school, you want to do more of the grading. Elementary, it's more discussion based. Sometimes the best teaching happens when you go, okay, what do you think about that ending? Or what do you think about that character? and just have that discussion with them. Those discussions build deep emotional connections and deep thinking. And the curriculum is just a framework to help you get tools to be able to start those discussions. So I did mention real quickly high school versus elementary school. So elementary to middle school all has the same layout, thick workbooks with a lot of information in them. Once we get into junior high, we actually have to split the workbook into two because it's so thick. So you don't have to carry it all around. We have one semester per workbook. And then once you get to high school, all of a sudden it jumps down to a lot smaller. It looks really tiny because it's more of a guide. At that point, it becomes, it's a student guide, not a workbook. And so they're not doing the same every reading comprehension, grammar, everything in the workbook. It's a guide where they're going to have something separate. It's a little bit more formal. The teacher's guides are smaller. Most families at the high school level just get the teacher's guide as a PDF because it's just really small. And you can have the adaptability at the high school level to either make one curriculum a full year course and do a deep dive, or a semester and do 2 courses in a year. And so there's some flexibility there as well. Excuse me. At the high school level, they're also reading longer and more challenging works like Scarlet Letter, Beowulf, Great Expectations, and they're writing more formal essays, and it's very much more analytical, expository, persuasive, those different types as well. At the high school level, we also include rubrics, assignment breakdowns, grading, that sort of stuff, so that you can transcript it easier at the high school level when that transcripting becomes more critical. All that, though, says that high school level becomes different layout. It has a different feel than 1st through 8th. And I want to acknowledge that. So that was a lot. So I hope it gave you guys clarity, confidence to be able to adapt. And I'd love to be able to answer more questions that I didn't cover.
Great. Thank you so much, Kristen. I think that you covered all of my questions during your presentation. So thank you so much. That was so helpful. And I think that Hewitt Resources online is going to be a tremendous help for all of our families. Thank you for continuing to add to it. So it's best to just kind of keep looking in there.
Yeah. And like I said, if you see something and you're like, I'd love to see more of this type of thing, let us know. Like I say, we're a small nonprofit, and so we are working to build it. It might take us a little time, but we are working proactively to build those resources for you guys.
Great. And can families request those there on that site?
Yeah, absolutely. It all ties to our main Hewitt Learning store. And so it'll all link, it'll all get to us.
Okay, great.
So the contact us page, I think, is actually on the Hewitt Learning site itself.
Okay.
But they all link together.
Okay, wonderful. And I do want to note, the hybrid classes that we are offering are not in person, they're online only, but they will be really helpful, and we're excited about those this year to be offering that. And we will definitely send our teachers to your Hewitt Resources site as well.
Absolutely. It's right now, it's a set of worksheets for grades 1 through 6. And then we're building, like I say, we're building more.
Great. And you said spelling lists are coming as well?
They're coming, yes. Spelling lists are coming, and some, one piece I forgot, vocabulary. So the way Lightning Lit approaches vocabulary is intentionally there is not a vocab list, because the author's take on it is every kid is going to have different knowledge and different foundation of what words they know and not. And so in the teacher's guide, there's instructions on how to build your own vocabulary notebook. And so for the kids to be able to, as they're reading, say, I don't know what this word means, write it in their notebook, write the definition out, or on a Google Doc, or however you want to do it.
Okay.
And to build their own vocabulary based on their reading and what they know and what they don't know.
Okay, great. And then will the spelling lists be for certain grade levels?
We're working on them for starting with the younger levels is where we're starting. And they're words based, inspired by the books.
Perfect.
Yep.
The best way to learn the words.
That's the beauty of this program is it's all with whatever you're reading at the moment.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate you
Yeah,
taking the time out of your day to meet with us and
absolutely.
go over your wonderful program and have so many wonderful resources for us. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Great. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.